Joe Sestak, a former member of Congress, a retired three-star admiral, and a candidate on the campaign trail to win his party, the Democratic Party's nomination, so he can square off against the Republican Party nominee in the race for Pennsylvania's U.S. Senator's job. Joe Sestak, on line one. Good to talk to you again, Joe.
Good to be with you, Steve. Thanks.
Did you watch the 3 hours of the debate?
I watched a bit of it. Not the whole thing at all, but I did read the transcripts afterwards. Not the whole transcripts, but the newspaper media reports afterwards, because I kind of want to have a feel for what these contenders are saying. But I've obviously spent most of my time on my own race.
Well, you have, but at the same time, everything is inextricably linked when it comes to campaigns, when it comes to endorsements, when it comes to this whole process. What was the takeaway for Joe Sestak from?
Well, you make a great point. The reason I watched it, a little bit of it, was obviously because I was interested in Trump again. Because I think Trump, as much as I believe he is a false prophet, is actually mining the vein of the distrust Americans have in their leadership in the system today. And that's why I kind of wanted to watch it. I want to see what he does, how he continue to speak. Was he really speaking his mind, even though his policies he can't even describe? Because that's what I'm doing. That's why I did the walk across the states, is I wanted to make sure that people understood that I believe the biggest deficit in America today is trust. It wasn't about party, it's about trust. So that's what I took away again, is as I watch the other contenders talk about them, take them down on this, how many of them really are pivoting to say, wait a minute, Americans are saying, I'm not going to take it anymore. And if people who are true leaders don't stand up and be accountable to earn that trust, you're going to get someone like Trump.
When you set off on this most recent campaign, you were by yourself as a Democrat. Now you've got Katie McGinty, and now a third candidate has risen, the mayor of Braddock out near Pittsburgh. How important is it for the voters of Pennsylvania to hear debates involving, so far, you three?
Well, my first thing to say to everybody is anybody who wants to get in, get in. And I think what's important is that people are out there. Forget the debates right now. Let's get out there and have people even talking about where they stand. How many times do you look around and actually see statewide candidates in our state or any state of having an open town hall like I just did at Villanova University? Open town hall on Iran. And as I walked across Pennsylvania, from in March, every day I had an open event. That's what I first want to see, is that people are out there having open events. I can't find Senator Toomey doing an open, where everybody's invited, town hall since he's been a senator.
So what about the debates with you three?
By the way, he did have one up in Potter County, but there was armed guards, and it was kind of a weird thing up there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are we going to have debates with you three candidates, you three Democrats?
I would imagine we would have, a debate or something. But right now, I believe the important thing is let's have people get out there and talk to people one-on-one. Like take the mushroom parade I did the other night. Walking back and forth, shaking hands, talking to people, stayed around afterwards for about 45 minutes to talk. I want to make sure that we also debate the policies as we go down, but what we also have to do is look people in the eye and let them get a cut of our jib. That's why places in the presidential race like Iowa, New Hampshire are important. It forces you to do grassroots instead of sticking in your room all the time and just raising money. You got to do that. It's the mother's milk of a campaign. But be out there in your boots and your jeans meeting people.
When we talk about policy, and you earlier had referenced Donald Trump has bowed out of a major Republican gathering scheduled for tonight in South Carolina, and this gathering is going to be heavy on policy, heavy on specifics. How important is it to know your facts before you go to a town meeting or show up at a debate?
Very important. That's why I called him a false prophet. He is answering one half of the problem of trust. He's saying, I'm railing against the system. It's broken. It is broken. Both parties' leadership is broken. But what he doesn't have then is the second part. which is these are the policies I believe in. Now hold me accountable. And if I don't achieve them, you can trust me that you can throw me out and that's what he's not doing. Look, that's why after I did the walk across the state to beginning to earn their trust, I then put out my book of policies, Restore the American Dream. They're policies that talk about seniors. These are the policies needed to ensure they're not being ripped up by fraudulent people, ripping them off in financial abuse. Here's what's needed for the workforce development because America has the least investment by private companies or our government in workforce training. And here's what I'm going to fight for: hold me accountable. No, I think policies and facts are absolutely critical, but you got to be willing to be held accountable. That is, be willing, like a captain of a ship, be relieved for cause if you don't achieve them. Don't say something, achieve a result.
When it comes to foreign policy, and of course foreign policy was discussed at the debate, foreign policy affects presidents as well as U.S. senators. When it comes to policy, obviously Iran, and we spoke about Iran the last time we talked on the air. What other country is at the forefront of your mind when it comes to foreign policy? What other nation does Joe Sestak think quite a bit about?
China. I have thought about China since I've been in the Navy and operated out there. I backpacked through China in the mid-1980s as they were starting to become a country that wasn't just kind of driven by Mao Zedong's kind of approach, but tried to get capitalism to work within communism. I've watched them closely. And in the Navy, I said, this is the strategic center of gravity for our economy, for our diplomacy, for our finances, and for our security in its coming century. And you know what? Central Asia with Afghanistan, ISIS, Iran has taken our eye off the ball. I've watched China here the last couple years build artificial reefs in the South China Sea. And under international law, if something rises above the water, they try to claim 90% of the South China Sea with approximately 18 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, a couple billions of dollars of oil under there as their personal private property against international law. This is why I'm very concerned as part of it about China. And so that's why I have worked hard to try to address this issue. Look, we do not have people in the Senate any longer in either party who understand the joining of foreign policy and military policy and how it affects our livelihoods here at home.
I think when most people think about China, we're hearing a lot about the cyber threat. We're not hearing nearly as much about the Chinese basically saying that the South China Sea belongs to us. We're not hearing about this potentially fatal game of chicken that's going on. And I don't think we're really paying the average American as close attention to what goes on in China as we should. I have a friend who is a very savvy young businessman. He's a West Point graduate. He was in the first Gulf War. He's the all-American boy, and he's got real sound ethics and business savvy. When he went to China back in the 90s, I believe, he came back and he said, "Corbett, I never saw anything like it." He said it was like a big episode of The Sopranos. They told us, whatever you need, we'll get for you. If you want to violate environmental laws, we'll take care of it. If you want whatever you want, we'll do it for you. You just deal with us. And he said it was frightening. And he's a guy who doesn't scare very easily.
You hit it on the head. We have not had our eye on the ball where our livelihoods, our economic prosperity, our jobs are being stolen, quite frankly. Look, it has been called the biggest theft in humankind, what they have stolen from us in cyber security by going in and taking not just files from our defense industry, but also how to build the best solar panels in the world. And so they have taken solar power. They've taken wind turbines, and now they're the massive producer of it as they've stolen it from us. And then they wreck their environment. They'll actually pay the lowest of wages. But here's something that's happening now. Because shipping is so scarce, today because they've really won a lot coming towards them, and the prices have skyrocketed, and wages have begun to rise in China. Now is our moment. My friend of mine has closed 3 factories there and brought one of them here. One of them went to Bangladesh, one of them went to Thailand, but he's about to close 3 more and bring them to America. We can become the export of the world again if we do 2 things. One, understand small businesses need to be backed by the Export-Import Bank, because if you're a small businessman, you're going to get ripped off by that mafia that you just described. But if we back them with the right insurance and other things, we'll be the sellers. And number 2, what we also have to do is develop our workforce, because we don't have the artisans of old, the welders, the people who did the manufacturing. We've got to get back to what you and I probably remember as Votech, where today a welder is very sophisticated because he's got to design the bead on a computer to do it in the shipyard where my father used to work in Philadelphia. That's what we also have to do to compete.
Are you pleased with the direction your campaign has taken? Are you pleased with where you're headed, where you're moving?
I am. And that's because we have had a central focus on something that is people. I get out and I get about. I love it. I'll be honest. They got to reel me back in at times to raise the funds, which we will have the sufficient ones of. But, man, I love parades. The Grange Fair Parade, with Mushroom Parade, where I have 12 volunteers going down each side, passing on my brochure. I run back and forth and I said, hey, that's my brochure. Take me home.
Well,
but I love that stuff, and I believe that ability to get trusted and then stand by what you say you're going to do is going to make the difference.
The statement you made when you heard that former Governor Rendell was lining up against McGinty, you said, if party leaders in D.C. and the machine in Philly want an establishment candidate, I'm not their guy. I'm for people above party or type.
That's right. If they want to control somebody, which frankly they do, I am not their guy. And I think that's what's happened, unfortunately, is parties have become about parties. The Democratic Party was founded for people. And if the party focuses on that, they'll be mighty fine. And if they don't, then you're going to get false prophets, like I said, Trump, that is going to mine that vein of distrust. Because I got to tell you, Washington, D.C. is not working. And I just want to be part of the team that gets down there, whether it's in job creation, workforce development, whether it's taking care of our seniors, and foreign policy, where I've lived for 31 years in the Navy. I want to make sure we're doing it right. But I'm going to be open about it and not shy away from where I stand on facts and figures by having studied it, discussed it, and listened.
Joe Sestak, we'll talk with you soon. Thanks so much for your time.
Have a great evening, Steve.
Okay, there it is, Joe Sestak.